Slurpy Dirt my G's. I hope you guys are all doing well today. And today I've got another Vital tutorial. So I've been getting back into Vital a little bit recently, as you can tell. I kind of switch between Phase Plant and Vital sometimes. Just depending on how I'm feeling on that particular day. So we're a little bit Vital focused at the moment, but that's good because I know a lot of you guys prefer the Vital tutorials because, I mean, it's a free synth, so everyone's got access to it, so that's always good. Yeah, so I made like an ARP this morning, which I think sounds really sick, and I've called it the Squadron ARP. I'll probably upload this preset on the Elite Squad Discord as well, so if you guys want it, you can get it there, but you can feel free to follow along as I created it here today. So yeah, without further ado, let me play it to you, and bear in mind there's no effects on it or processing on it. If you guys want me to do more sound design videos, sort of resampling and things like that, I've really enjoyed doing that. So let me know just if that's something that you're interested in, and I'll do some more videos in a resampling sense, as opposed to synthesis, you know, because this is the first stage, the synthesis stage. So today we're just going to focus on that, you know. So you can imagine that by resampling this sound, you could make it a lot different and more special. But the main harmonics and the rhythms and everything that are important to have to begin with are obviously also imperative, you know, for this particular sound. So even if you're not like yeah, not like super blown away by the sound design of it, the fact that we've made it from nothing is still pretty good. Yeah, so that's the good thing about synthesis, you know, getting good at creating sounds from scratch. So it's two techniques really, you know, synthesis and resampling. I'm rambling a lot, I realise that. Yeah, anyways, the Squadron ARP. So the same sort of drum beat I've been using for the last couple of videos. I just have it there as a metronome, if anything, really, to write the patch to. But here's what it sounds like anyway. I'll play a little bit with the macro, so you can hear the couple of the different effects that I've got going on as well in this sound. So let's go. So there it is, and so you see what I mean. I was saying about the sound design before, because it sounds very much like, you know, you can kind of hear that it's what the kind of wave tables it's made from. You can hear the sort of saw waves and triangle waves in it. It's not like super refined, where, you know, if we did a resampling video, we could talk about like putting on a lot of convolution and different distortion tones to like refine the sound and make it like even more unique. But as it is, I think it's got a really great rhythm and a lot of intricate details, you know, so I think it's a great starting point. You can hear there's quite a lot going on, so we're going to dive into the LFOs and things like that create the movement in a moment. But yeah, with the macros, I've just got, I was playing with the timing of the whole kind of ARP to get a little, really like more funky and off the grid that way. And we've just got a little Tony to give some fine tuning to the exact harmonics of the sound. So as we dive in then to the patch, because it's going to be a little bit not complicated to explain, but it's going to take a little while, so bear with me while I just turn off these effects, and then I'll talk about the LFOs. And so obviously with Vital, like, it doesn't have an arpeggiator section, which is like a shame. But that doesn't mean we can't create our own ARPs with it. And so how I sort of imagine that in the easiest way is to have a number of different LFOs all doing a saw down. So you got that kind of stab motion. And having a few different ones separately on different wavetables, which are at different pitches, and yeah, potentially different actual wave shapes as well. And then all the LFOs are a different timing as well. So that's where I've got the rhythm from the sound, you know, by having the LFOs at a different time signature. Okay, so that's sort of how it is with the with all the effects off. So we'll go like just one at a time. I'll just walk through them, and like a lot of it was trial and error with the timings, you know. So you just throw the LFOs on 3 different oscillators, and then you can have a little random play with the timings on each one. But the first one I've got then is a sine wave. So this is the bassy kind of number. -24, and this is the kind of slowest one, so we've got a nice slow sort of walking rhythm, and that's on the LFO1 with 1/4, and with all of these saw downs I've done a little fade in at the beginning, so I've drawn it to have a little fade in, and then yeah, this sort of fade in, the amount that the sort of amount that I'm doing is different on each one, so we've got a little bit of extra separation in the timing between all of the LFOs, so that's quite important. And then, yeah, we're curving down this, you know, the amount of, the way the saw down is curved is also different on each one. So some of them are a bit longer and looser, and some of them are a bit like more steep and tighter. So that's just also to get separation between all of the oscillators. So the first one, a slow one, 24, -24 and 1/4. Yeah, nice slow rhythm. And then we got a second oscillator coming in, which is a saw wave, and this is at -5. So that's also the same as having it at +7. You know, just depending on what octave you're kind of playing with. So this one is then on a little bit of a faster rhythm, and it's still 1/4, but it's triplet mode, so it's kind of off the beat here. Yeah, so it's an extra new rhythm. And we've got we're going to actually FM this into the first one. So there's a little bit of FM going on, FM from oscillator 2. The level is down at 0, but the amount will come up also on LFO2 here. So we'll just drag the LFO2 to the FM. Just so I could get a little bit of extra complexity to the voicing section there. And so that's the first 2, and then the third one, which is one of the probably most important ones, is I believe it's actually another saw wave. Yes, it is. It's another saw wave, but I've put some effects on it this time. But this one's at 0. And this is going on our LFO3 then. So obviously, in case I forgot to mention it, the level is turned off on all of the oscillators. To 0, and then we put LFO1 on oscillator 1, LFO2 on oscillator 2, LFO3 on oscillator 3, and just bring the level up, you know. So actually, the first 2 go all the way up to 100%, and this third one is not quite going all the way up. It's a little bit quieter, so it's just going up sort of to, what is that, 2 o'clock here or something like that. Okay, so this one has a faster pattern. So this is a 1/8 note LFO. So yeah, it's kind of on the beat. So it sort of matches with the first one, just sort of twice as fast. So we had the 1/4 and we got the 1/8. And the one in the middle is the one that's sort of off the beat because it's a triplet 1/4. Yeah. And so this one again is it's the fade in is a little bit tighter. It's a bit quicker because it's quite a fast rhythm. And then also I've tightened the curve here to make it a little bit more controlled as well. Okay, so playing with those curves to control the tightness of each oscillator movement is super important as well. And so on this one, I've also injected a little bit of stereo information into this oscillator 3, and so we've got 3 voices here, and just playing with the unison detune, so it's definitely spread out, but it's not like super wide that it sort of loses its pitch, you know. So about 17%. Okay, so that's like the main 3 then, and yeah, like I said with the extra modes I've put on this, so I've put on the shepherd tone mode, and it sort of actually almost changes the pitch of the saw wave as well. And as I was experimenting with it, I liked the way that it sort of went sort of slowly down in pitch. So what I've done is I've brought the shepherd tone all the way to the left, which means it's on 0 and it's basically not affecting the pitch. And then we've got a new LFO to bring the shepherd tone from a little bit higher down to 0 again with a saw down. So the LFO4 here, I've used this as a sort of slow ramp down, so we can do a few modulations within the ARP which are more subtle and play out over time, so they're not contributing to the the important fundamental rhythm of the oscillators. It's a slow kind of automation LFO. Yeah, so that's just a saw down, and here you can hear on the shepherd tone, if I put it back on, you can hear it starts to sort of pitch down this oscillator. It goes down a little bit, and yeah, there's a little bit of a bend on the saw wave, which just makes a very, very small difference to the tone, but it's not massive. Okay, so very sort of saw wave heavy overall still. So we've got to start to, make it a little bit more natural. So this is where I add in the sample section. And a while ago, I released like a free, I think you can still download it on my website or maybe on my Patreon, I can't remember. Just a little folder of sort of textures and noises that you can load up into Vital. So it's like white noise, but a little bit softer. So there's this one here called Club, which is, it's actually more of a lower kind of atmosphere, but you don't hear it so much because it's pretty quiet. But I'm just tracking the level of this onto LFO3, so this is the same as the oscillator 3. It's our sort of faster one here, so you can hear it there. Just a little bit of atmosphere, so it's a little bit dirtier in a way. It's not just all saw waves, So that's going on as well in the voicing section. So we've got a little bit of organic texture in it. And then next, all we're going to do is we're going to use the filters to get a little bit of extra separation again between the oscillators and refine the sound of them a little bit more. So filter 1, I've put this on our sine wave here, and it's a phaser positive filter, and it's just mixed in sort of up to 3 o'clock, driven it up a little bit, and then yeah, we've got a little bit of movements going on. So it's following the main movement from the oscillator 1, which is on LFO1. So that's the main movement here. So it sort of pulses up and down a bit, so shaping that oscillator a little bit more interestingly. And it's got a small movement on the LFO4 as well, bringing it back down. So like that kind of pitching up was happening on oscillator 3, it's also going to be slightly filtering down as well, but very, very slightly. And there's another control here, which is the macro for the Tony. So this filter is shaped by this macro as well. So that will just change the overall sound a little bit if we want to. But anyway, the next filter then is also a phaser filter, but it's a negative one. And this is on our third oscillator, so this kind of faster one. And so again, I've put the same relevant LFO that's on oscillator 3 onto this filter, and also twisted that to the right, so we've got a little bit of a filter movement on this LFO oscillator 3 as well. Okay, and the same thing with our slow LFO4. It's going up and down really, really slightly as well, so that just means it's doing its main movement, but at the same time it's coming down a bit as well, so it's just a little bit more different over time. So these are all like really small details, but these little things are what cause the separation in the oscillators, which will result in a richer sound when we start to boost everything in the effects section in just a moment. Just want to make sure that I've covered everything. I think that's pretty much everything there. I could do maybe some little pitch adjustments to get the sound to be even better, but I've missed that out for this time. So let's jump over to the effects then. And so we're going to start off with a reverb, because this is going to, I kind of really like the way that reverb translates when you sort of run it through the compressor and distortion and things like that. So I like to put it first. And just turning the low cut up to 500 or 600 here. And the mix is only at 10%. Yeah, so about 10% on the mix, and obviously you know, this small detail in the reverb is going to be boosted up a lot with the distortion and the compressor and things. So distortion next, and I've just got a little bit of modulation on the drive, but this is only on the Tony. So the Tony will shape the sound to give us control of you know, how exactly we want it to be. And one of the ways it does that is changing the filter positions and the amount of drive. So that's normally what I track the Tony to. So here the Seinfeld mode though, the distortion really starts to bring the sound together. It saturates it all, it sort of squashes it together as one, and you start to hear a little bit more of that sine wave, the bass coming through. You start to hear those saw waves sort of blend in with the sine wave a bit more, and you'll also start to hear that the details and that reverb come up a little bit too. Okay, so a little bit more powerful now. And now let's go ahead and make it a little bit more pleasurable to listen to with the chorus. It just makes things a lot nicer. Okay, so giving that stereo image into everything we've made, you know? So I like doing it this way often, you know, sort of spreading the sound here once everything's been made, so that we're doing it all together. So the whole sound, which was like, you know, a little bit mono, it had some stereo in, but it was still fairly mono. Now we spread the whole thing like together as one, so it's still like a cohesive rhythm that we've created. We're not going away from it too much. We're just because we're doing the chorus on everything, you know. So as opposed to doing more unison modes on the individual oscillators. So anyway, I've been quite precise with this, and mix is about 30%, and I've controlled the amount of depth and the position of the delays to get it to kind of find a spot where the chorus begins to blend in with our original sound and feel like it's one unit still, you know, but now more warmer and with more stereo. So that's the idea here. Obviously the mix is too high, you start to really separate the sound, it becomes too chorused, and you lose that sort of impact. But then back off a bit. Until we get the best of both worlds, that extra stereo warmth and extra voices, but also still retaining the original kind of rhythm and groove that we had going. So then we've got a compressor, and we're doing my sort of OTT saturation trick where we just whack up the attack, turn down the release, and then we play with the mix. So the mix is on 0, and we just modulate this. And I've chosen to do it on LFO3, which is our sort of faster 1/8 rhythm, because I think it's kind of like my sort of favourite groove in the patch is that faster LFO. So on this one, we're obviously you'll start to boost up the high end a bit more with this compressor. So you'll hear a bit of the noise from the sample section from that atmosphere. You'll hear a bit more of those saw waves as well in the high end coming up. But remember, those saw waves, they're not really harsh anymore because they've been chorused quite a lot, and we've also got a reverb in there. So it's not like super harsh high-end saw wave. It's been softened already. So that was important that we did the other things first. Okay, now I'm doing a little EQ, and essentially why I do this is just to see if there's any sort of holes in the sound, or if there's anything that I can boost that will make it better. Similar thing to what I would do in my projects that I master from other people. Also looking for those little spots where things could still be boosted up. You know, finding those little holes in the sound. If you guys ever want any of your tracks mastered for your self-releases, or if your record labels are being too lazy, just send me an email and I'll happily sort you out a good price for that. Yeah, it's one of my main jobs alongside with the production mentorship. So anyway, yeah, here's the sort of treble boost, like I said, around 1,200 or so. So sort of around 1.2, 1.5k, really the sort of central biting point of the treble, you know. And here it just gives you that extra bite in the whole sound when we boost that there. obviously some sounds, you know, they might already have too much bite, or it might already be perfect, but you know, I was just listening by ear, and I just noticed that I could boost it a little bit there, and it just sounded a little bit more tasty. So next up then is the filter section, and just a little bit of a general filter on everything. General filter. And I should call one of my Patreon tiers General Filter. Yeah, that'd be cool. Anyway, yeah, I've just mixed it in a little bit so it's not all the way. And yeah, a little bit of control here on the Tony macro. But also the whole filter is mixing on and off on our slower LFO here. I believe that, yeah, the cutoff is also modulating downwards. So on our LFO4, which is our slow evolving filter, that's also bringing the filter position down a little bit, the cutoff. So it kind of also changes a bit over time. But you can hear, like, when the mix is up a lot, you know, we're really dipping out a lot of frequencies and a lot of the bass and mid-range, and that's a little bit too much. So that's why I wanted to just mix in a little bit of that effect. Because we're shaping that kind of crucial part of the sound, you know, giving it more of a dynamic interest down here, but we're not like going all the way and taking all the frequencies out. So just a little bit of dynamic shaping in that low mid-range area. It's very, very nice. Then I think we finish off with a bit of flanger, and this is on our LFO4, so this kind of slow evolving LFO over the course of the ARP. We just have like a tiny bit of flanging at the beginning, and then it kind of backs off, but it's very, very subtle here. You just see a few of those sort of flangy harmonics starting up on, and then they just back off a little bit. Okay, and then we've got just a tiny, tiny delay with like 2% or 1%, which is barely noticeable, but it's just a tiny bit of a stereo ping pong delay just to kind of finish the sound. And that's basically the Squadron ARP then. So the other thing I did with the shift macro, so you can try and get some cool rhythms. If you play with this one, get some lazy kind of motion going on. I think it was quite good just around here somewhere. Get a bit of a different kind of groove going on. And all I've done for that one is I've shifted the phase position of all of the LFOs together. So the LFO1 here, you know, naturally the phase position of all the LFOs is at 0, you know, this bar here. And so I just set the macro here to control this bar, and then turn it up to 100% on the amount here on the modulation. I've done the same on LFO2 and LFO3. So basically we shift them all left or right at the exact same amount. So it kind of keeps the whole overall rhythm the same, but just the starting point of the whole thing changes. So you can, like, yeah, get a different groove with your drum beat or whatever, you know? But yeah, obviously I designed it at 0, so that's where it's sort of at its tightest, because I was sort of tweaking everything to try and get it to fit to the grid. So that's the main setting there. So that's basically the Squadron ARP then. And like I said before, yeah, obviously this is the synthesis video. So, you know, like I said, you could really go ahead and resample this and make it a lot more special, a lot more different, you know. But you've got so much rhythmic interest and complexity in the sample already now that you can really just have an absolute field day with it, to be honest. Yeah, and I like that. You really hear that nice sort of pitching down on it as well from that shepherd tone modulation that I put in. I think that was one of the most important aspects of giving the ARP a little bit more interest, because the whole thing does move down in pitch, so it's a little bit more melodic in a sense. Yeah, a little bit of a longer video today. We're up to almost 25 minutes, so I think I'll stop talking now. But yeah, hope you learned a little bit from that, and I'd love to see you guys designing your own ARPs and seeing what you come up with, and yeah, maybe applying some of the techniques that I taught and making them your own and advancing your sound even further. So hopefully it was inspiring for you today. Much love, my G's. Hope you have an amazing rest of your week. Peace out.